Have you ever looked at something you wanted, a better apartment, a business, a skill, an investment, a better life, and instantly said, "I can't afford it"? Stop, because those four words don't just describe your reality, they create it. The moment you say, "I can't afford it," your brain gets permission to shut the door. No creativity, no strategy, no solutions, no growth, just a clean, comfortable excuse. But wealthy people ask a different question. Not can I, not should I, but how can I? And that one shift changes everything. Because the people who build wealth don't train their brains to look for limits. They train their brains to look for leverage. If you master this question, you stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a builder. Most people think money problems are income problems. A lot of the time, they're language problems first, because language is not just communication, it's command. The words you repeat become instructions for your mind. When you say, "I can't afford it," you are giving your brain a dead-end command. Conversation over, case closed, move on. But when you ask, "How can I afford it?" your brain has to go to work. Now it starts searching. Can I earn more? Can I learn a higher value skill? Can I negotiate better? Can I build a second income stream? Can I buy it with cash flow instead of salary? Can I make this asset pay for itself? That is the difference. Poor thinking looks for permission to quit. Wealthy thinking looks for a path. This is why two people can have the same paycheck and end up in completely different lives. One person sees every obstacle and says, "Not possible." The other sees the same obstacle and asks, "What would have to be true for this to work?" That question is dangerous in the best way, because now you're not reacting to life, you're engineering it. The phrase, "I can't afford it," protects your ego, but "how can I afford it?" builds your future. Here's where this gets real. Most people are trained to think about money one way: earn, spend, repeat. So when they want something bigger, they only ask one question: can my current paycheck handle this? And if the answer is no, they give up. But wealthy people don't think like that. They don't just ask what their paycheck can buy. They ask what their skills, assets, network, and systems can produce. That is a completely different operating system. To a worker, more money means a nicer life. To an owner, more money means a stronger machine. That's why the question, "How can I afford it?" can literally raise your income over time, because it forces you to think in terms of higher value skills, smarter positioning, better opportunities, side income, investing, and ownership. You stop asking, "How do I squeeze this into my budget?" and start asking, "How do I become the kind of person who can buy this without stress?" That is the shift. You don't get rich by becoming better at wanting less. You get rich by becoming better at creating more, while still staying disciplined enough to keep what you create. Don't just cut costs, expand capacity. A luxury mindset says, "How do I look richer?" A wealth mindset says, "How do I become stronger?" And strength in finance is simple: more options, more cash flow, more ownership, less desperation. Let's make this practical. You see a course that could teach you sales, coding, content creation, marketing, AI, investing, something that could actually increase your value. Most people say, "I can't afford it." End of story. But the better question is, how can I afford it? Could I cut one useless subscription, sell something I don't use, pick up freelance work for 30 days, negotiate my salary, flip a skill online, trade entertainment for education for 1 month? See what happened? The moment you ask how, you stop being powerless. Or maybe it's not a course. Maybe it's a rental property. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's moving to a better area. Maybe it's buying back your time. The average person sees the price tag and freezes. The wealthy person sees the same price tag and starts building a bridge. That bridge might be skills. It might be discipline. It might be networking. It might be time. It might be sacrifice. But they build it. Because they understand something most people never do. Your income rarely rises above the quality of the problems you're willing to solve. If every time life presents a bigger opportunity, your answer is, "I can't," then your future will always be smaller than your ambition. But if your answer becomes, "How?" now your brain is awake. Now your standards rise. Now your behavior changes. Now your income has a reason to grow. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, ban the phrase, "I can't afford it." Delete it. Not because money is unlimited, not because every purchase is smart, not because you should buy everything you want, but because that phrase trains helplessness. Replace it with one of these. How can I afford it? How can I earn it? How can I make this pay for itself? What skill would make this easy? What would need to change for this to become realistic? That is how you stop living in reaction mode. That is how you stop acting like a passenger in your own financial life. And that is how people quietly build incomes that used to feel impossible. Because wealth doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in the sentence you say right before you make a decision. If this shifted the way you think about money, then don't just watch this video, use it. Comment below with one thing you've been saying "I can't afford" about, and rewrite it as "How can I afford it?" And if you want more videos on wealth psychology, financial freedom, and how real builders think about money, hit subscribe. Because around here, we're not trying to look rich, we're trying to become impossible to stop.